Queen Zara stood on the crystal balcony of her palace, watching the twin suns set over the Kethran homeworld. Her massive frame cast a long shadow across the polished floor. At 8 feet tall with skin like dark metal and muscles that could bend steel, she was the most powerful ruler in 12 star systems. Every being in the galaxy knew her name and feared it. Her people, the Kethrans, had built their empire through strength alone. They were warriors who settled disputes with their fists and conquered planets with raw power. In their culture, physical weakness meant death. The strong ruled and the weak served or died. This was the way it had always been. "Your Majesty," came a voice behind her. General Rex, her military commander, approached with heavy footsteps. His armor clanked with each movement. Like all Kethran males, he stood 7 feet tall and carried weapons that could level buildings. "The Earth delegation has arrived," Rex announced, his voice filled with disgust. "I still do not understand why we waste time with these humans. They are weak creatures. Their bones break like twigs." Zara turned from the balcony. Her golden eyes, which could see in perfect darkness, studied her general's face. "Because, Rex, even weak creatures can be useful. The humans control 17 star systems now. Their technology is different from ours. Perhaps we can learn something," Rex snorted. "What could we possibly learn from beings who cannot even lift their own body weight? Our smallest child is stronger than their greatest warrior." "Strength is not everything," Zara said quietly. Rex looked shocked. In their entire history, no Kethran had ever spoken such words. Strength was everything. It was their religion, their law, their very identity. "Forgive me, Your Majesty, but that is impossible. Strength is the foundation of all power. Without it, we are nothing." Zara did not answer. Instead, she walked toward the throne room where the human delegation waited. Her footsteps echoed through the massive corridors lined with statues of ancient Kethran warriors. Each statue told the story of conquest through might. The throne room was enormous, designed to intimidate visitors. The ceiling stretched 100 feet high, supported by pillars carved from single pieces of black stone. Weapons from 1,000 conquered worlds hung on the walls. The throne itself was made from the hull of the first enemy ship the Kethrans had destroyed. 3 humans stood in the center of the room, looking impossibly small. They wore simple dark suits that seemed fragile compared to Kethran armor. Zara could have crushed all 3 with one hand, yet they showed no fear. The first human stepped forward. He was older, with gray hair and tired eyes. "Your Majesty, I am Ambassador Williams. Thank you for agreeing to these negotiations." Zara barely glanced at him. Her attention was drawn to the man standing slightly behind the ambassador. He was younger, perhaps 30 Earth years, with brown hair and calm blue eyes. Unlike his companions who tried to hide their nervousness, this one seemed completely relaxed. "And you are?" Zara asked, her voice booming through the chamber. "Tom, Your Majesty. I am here to assist with technical matters." His voice was quiet but clear. He did not bow as deeply as the others, and when he looked at her, he met her eyes directly. Most beings, even powerful ones, found her gaze intimidating. This small human seemed unbothered. "Technical matters," she repeated. "What kind of technology could humans possibly offer us?" Tom smiled slightly. "Perhaps we should discuss that during the formal negotiations, Your Majesty." Rex stepped forward, his hand moving to his weapon. "You dare to avoid answering the Queen directly?" "I meant no disrespect," Tom said calmly. "I simply believe such discussions deserve proper time and attention." Zara raised a hand, stopping Rex from advancing further. Something about this human interested her. He showed respect without fear, confidence without arrogance. In her long life, she had never met anyone quite like him. "Very well," she said. "We will begin negotiations tomorrow. Tonight, you are our guests." The next morning, the negotiations began in earnest. The Kethrans wanted human technology, particularly their faster-than-light communication systems. The humans wanted protection from the Vorthan Syndicate, an aggressive alien empire that had been raiding human colonies. Zara sat on her throne, listening as Ambassador Williams and General Rex argued over trade routes and military support. The discussions were boring and predictable. Each side wanted maximum benefit for minimum cost, but Tom was different. When he spoke, which was rarely, his words carried weight. He asked questions that made everyone think differently about the problems they faced. "General Rex," Tom said during one heated exchange, "you mentioned that Kethran ships are superior because of their heavy armor. But has anyone considered that armor might be a weakness in certain situations?" Rex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Armor is never a weakness, human. The stronger the defense, the better. I understand that logic, Tom replied. But what if an enemy used weapons designed specifically to turn that armor against you? Heavy armor makes ships slower and less maneuverable. Against the right weapon, it could become a trap. The room fell silent. No Catherine had ever considered such a possibility. Rex's face darkened with anger, but Zara found herself leaning forward with interest. Explain, she commanded. Tom stood and walked to the large display screen showing ship designs. His movements were fluid and confident, despite being surrounded by beings who could kill him instantly. Quantum disruptors, he said simply. They turn dense materials against themselves. The thicker your armor, the more destructive the effect. A lightly armored fast ship might survive where a heavily armored one would be destroyed. Impossible, Rex growled. No such weapon exists. Actually, Tom said quietly, the Vorthons have been developing them for 5 years. Our intelligence networks detected the research programs early on. Zara felt her blood chill. The Vorthons were their oldest enemies, but they had been quiet for decades. If they had developed weapons specifically designed to counter Catherine's strengths, her entire empire was at risk. You have proof of this? She asked. Tom nodded and activated a small device. Holographic images filled the air showing weapon tests, research facilities, and detailed technical specifications. The evidence was overwhelming and terrifying. Why are you sharing this with us? Zara demanded. This information must be worth more than anything we could offer you. Because the Vorthons are everyone's enemy, Tom replied. They do not distinguish between humans and Catherines when they attack colonies. We all have reasons to stop them. Over the following weeks, the negotiations continued, but Zara found herself spending more time talking with Tom than with the official delegates. He had a way of looking at problems that she had never encountered before. Your people think differently than ours, she said one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. The alien plants glowed softly in the darkness, creating an almost magical atmosphere. How so? Tom asked, genuinely curious. Catherine see a problem and apply force until it breaks. You see a problem and look for ways around it. Sometimes the direct approach works, Tom said, but sometimes it just makes things worse. My people learned long ago that intelligence can be more powerful than strength. Zara stopped walking and turned to face him. Even at her full height, she towered over him. Yet somehow he did not seem small. Your people were weak once, she said. It was not a question. Very weak, Tom admitted. For most of our history, we were prey animals. Bigger, stronger creatures hunted us. We survived by being clever, by working together, by adapting to threats we could not fight directly. And now we have learned that true strength comes from understanding. When you understand your enemy better than they understand themselves, you have already won. Zara felt something strange in her chest, an emotion she did not recognize. This small, seemingly fragile human spoke of concepts that challenged everything she had been taught. Yet his words made sense in ways that disturbed her. As the weeks passed, their conversations became longer and more personal. Tom never tried to impress her with false displays of strength. Instead, he showed her new ways of thinking about old problems. He asked questions that had no easy answers and offered perspectives she had never considered. My advisors think I'm going insane, she told him one night as they stood again on her balcony. They cannot understand why I spend time with you. And what do you think? Tom asked. I think they may be right, she said, then laughed at the absurdity of it all. I am the most powerful being in known space, and I am fascinated by someone who could not lift my sword. Physical strength is not the only kind of power, Tom said softly. Prove it, she challenged. Tom was quiet for a long moment, then spoke carefully. Tomorrow, announce to your court that you intend to marry me. Zara stared at him in shock. That is impossible. A Catherine queen cannot marry someone weaker than herself. It would be seen as a sign of madness or weakness. My own people would rebel. Then you have your answer about power, Tom said simply. If the announcement creates chaos, then your physical strength means nothing. If your people accept it because they trust your judgment, then you will have proven that there are different kinds of strength. The challenge was brilliant and terrifying. Zara felt her heart racing as she considered the implications. Marriage to an off-worlder was not forbidden, but marriage to someone so obviously weak would be unprecedented. You would risk your life for a political demonstration? She asked. I would risk my life for you, Tom replied quietly. The words hit her like a physical blow. No one had ever spoken to her with such simple honesty. In her world of political maneuvering and displays of power, Tom's straightforward emotion was revolutionary. "My people will think I have lost my mind," she whispered. "Your people will think what they have always thought," Tom said, "that you are the strongest leader they have ever known, strong enough to make choices that others fear to make." The next morning, Zara stood before her assembled court. Hundreds of Kethrin nobles, generals, and advisors filled the great hall. Their armor gleamed and their weapons hung ready at their sides. These were beings who had conquered star systems and broken enemy fleets. "I have an announcement," Zara declared, her voice carrying easily through the vast space. "The negotiations with Earth have been successful. To strengthen the alliance between our peoples, I will marry the human diplomat Tom." The silence that followed was absolute. Not a single being in the hall moved or breathed. Then slowly, a murmur of shock and disbelief began to grow. General Rex stepped forward, his face twisted with confusion and anger. "Your Majesty, surely you jest. Marriage to such a weak creature would diminish your status. The other species will see it as a sign of weakness." "Are you questioning my judgment, Rex?" Zara asked dangerously. Rex immediately backed down, but the damage was done. Zara could see doubt in the eyes of her court. These beings who had followed her through dozens of wars now looked at her as if she had lost her mind. "The human has shown me new ways of thinking about old problems," she announced. "Our alliance with Earth will bring technologies and strategies we have never considered. This marriage will symbolize the joining of strength and intelligence." The court accepted her words because they had no choice, but Zara could feel their skepticism. Over the following days, as wedding preparations began, she heard whispered conversations and saw doubtful looks. Her people were beginning to question her leadership for the first time in her reign. The wedding ceremony was a magnificent affair. Thousands of beings from across the empire attended, along with representatives from dozens of alien species. The great cathedral was filled with the most powerful individuals in known space. Tom stood beside her at the altar, looking impossibly small next to her massive frame. He wore traditional Kethrin ceremonial robes that had been specially tailored for his human size. Despite the grandeur surrounding him, he remained calm and composed. "Do you, Zara, Queen of the Kethrin Empire, take this being as your equal in all things?" the ancient priest intoned. "I do," Zara replied, her voice echoing through the cathedral. "Do you, Tom of Earth, accept the responsibilities and duties of royal marriage, knowing that failure means death?" "I do," Tom said quietly. As the ceremony concluded and they were declared married, Zara felt a mixture of triumph and terror. She had made the most radical decision of her life, and now she would have to live with the consequences. The celebration that followed was elaborate, but strained. Nobles congratulated her with forced smiles while their eyes showed confusion and concern. Foreign ambassadors whispered among themselves, clearly wondering if the great Kethrin Empire was showing signs of weakness. But Tom seemed unaffected by the tension. He moved through the crowds with quiet confidence, engaging in conversations that left even the most skeptical guests looking thoughtful. Zara watched him work the room and began to understand that his calm exterior hid remarkable skills. 3 days after the wedding, as the celebration were winding down, alarms began screaming throughout the palace. Zara rushed to the command center where General Rex was coordinating with fleet commanders. "Report," she commanded. "Vorthon attack fleets have appeared at the edge of our system," Rex announced grimly. 12 battle groups heavily armed. "They are demanding our immediate surrender." Zara felt her blood turn cold. The Vorthons had not launched a major offensive in 30 years. For them to attack now, just after her wedding, seemed like an impossible coincidence. "How long until they reach the planet?" she asked. 6 hours at their current speed, Rex replied. "Our defense fleets are moving to intercept, but Your Majesty, they have weapons we have never seen before. Early reports suggest they are using some kind of quantum technology." Zara's eyes found Tom, who had followed her to the command center. His face was pale but determined. The quantum disruptors he had warned about were real, and now they faced the very scenario he had described. "Your Majesty," Rex continued, "I recommend we prepare for ground defense. If their new weapons are as effective as initial reports suggest, our fleets may not be able to stop them." As if summoned by his words, reports began flooding in from the fleet engagement. Kethrin ships, which had been considered invincible for centuries, were being systematically destroyed. Their heavy armor, their greatest strength, was indeed being turned against them. Impossible. Rex whispered as he watched the tactical displays. Our ships are the most powerful in the galaxy. How can they be falling so easily? Tom stepped forward, his quiet voice cutting through the chaos. Because the Vorthon spent years studying Kethran tactics and designing weapons specifically to counter them. They knew this day would come. All eyes turned to the small human who had somehow predicted this disaster. Zara felt a chill of realization as she understood that her new husband had knowledge that could save or doom them all. The battle for the Kethran homeworld had begun, and everything depended on secrets that only Tom possessed. The command center erupted in chaos as more reports flooded in. Kethran battlecruisers, ships that had conquered star systems, were being torn apart by Vorthon quantum weapons. On the massive display screens, Zara watched her mighty fleet crumble like paper in a fire. Battleship Thunder has been destroyed, an officer reported, his voice shaking. Admiral Kane and his entire crew are gone. Heavy Cruiser Squadron 7 is requesting immediate retreat, another officer called out. They report massive hull breaches from quantum disruptor hits. General Rex pounded his fist on the control panel, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. This cannot be happening. Our ships are invincible. Our armor has never failed. Tom stepped closer to the tactical display, studying the patterns of destruction with calm focus. While everyone else panicked, he seemed to be analyzing the situation like a puzzle to be solved. General, Tom said quietly, you need to order all remaining ships to retreat immediately. Rex spun around, his eyes blazing with fury. I will not take military advice from a weak human. Our warriors do not run from battle. Your warriors are being slaughtered, Tom replied without raising his voice. Every minute they stay in formation, more ships die. The Vorthons are using your own tactics against you. Enough, Rex snarled, reaching for his weapon. You have no right to speak in matters of war. Zara stepped between them, her massive frame blocking Rex's advance. Tom speaks with my authority. Explain what you see. Tom pointed to the display showing ship movements. The Vorthons are forcing your fleets into standard Kethran battle formations. Your ships group together for maximum firepower, just as they always have. But quantum disruptors work better against clustered targets. The more ships you group together, the more damage each weapon does. Rex looked at the tactical display, his anger slowly replaced by understanding and horror. The human was right. The Vorthons were deliberately herding Kethran ships into tight formations before unleashing their quantum weapons. Order scattered retreat, Zara commanded. All ships break formation and withdraw using random vectors. Your Majesty, Rex protested. Scattered retreat is a sign of cowardice. It goes against every military tradition we have. Our traditions are getting our people killed, Zara replied sharply. Issue the order now. As the remaining Kethran ships began their chaotic withdrawal, Tom continued studying the enemy patterns. His fingers moved quickly over a portable computer, analyzing data streams that meant nothing to the Kethran officers. How long until the Vorthons reach planetary orbit? He asked. 4 hours, an officer replied. Maybe less if they increase speed. Tom nodded grimly. They will not land immediately. Vorthon doctrine calls for orbital bombardment first to weaken ground defenses. We have perhaps 6 hours before ground invasion begins. Rex stared at him suspiciously. How do you know Vorthon military doctrine? You are supposed to be a diplomat. For the first time since the attack began, Tom smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. I was never really a diplomat, General. That was my cover story. The command center fell silent except for the ongoing battle reports. Even Zara looked surprised by this revelation. Then what are you? She asked. Earth Strategic Intelligence, Tom replied simply. I volunteered for a deep cover mission to study alien military capabilities. My real job was to infiltrate potential enemy governments and assess their strengths and weaknesses. Rex drew his weapon partially from its holster. You are a spy. You came here to betray us. I came here to understand you, Tom corrected. Earth needed to know if the Kethrans were a threat to human colonies. But I also knew the Vorthons were planning something big. When I learned about their quantum weapons research, I realized they would target the Kethrans first. Why would they target us? Zara demanded. Because you are the strongest military power in this sector, Tom explained. If they can defeat the Kethran Empire, every other species will surrender without fighting. Your strength makes you their primary target. Another alarm sounded and new reports flooded in. The Vorthon fleet had reached the outer system and was beginning to deploy an attack formation. Worse, Long-range sensors detected additional enemy fleets approaching from 3 different directions. "We are surrounded," Rex announced, his voice hollow with defeat. "They have brought enough ships to glass the entire planet." Tom studied the deployment patterns on the main display. While the Kethrans saw overwhelming force, he saw something different. The Vorthons were following their standard playbook, which meant they had predictable weaknesses. "Your Majesty," Tom said formally, "I request permission to coordinate planetary defense." Rex laughed bitterly. "You want to command our military? You cannot even lift a Kethran weapon." "Physical strength will not win this battle," Tom replied. "The Vorthons have already proven that overwhelming firepower beats traditional Kethran tactics. We need a different approach." Zara looked around the command center at her officers. These were beings who had served her faithfully for decades, but their faces showed despair and confusion. They had no idea how to fight an enemy that had neutralized their greatest advantage. "What do you propose?" she asked Tom. "Guerrilla warfare," Tom said simply. "We make them fight on our terms instead of theirs." "Guerrilla warfare is for the weak," Rex protested. "Kethran warriors fight with honor, face to face with their enemies. Kethran warriors are about to be extinct if we fight their way." Tom replied bluntly. "The Vorthons have studied your honor codes and your fighting traditions. They know exactly what you will do in every situation. That is why they are winning." Tom activated his portable computer and connected it to the palace defense systems. Data streams flowed across multiple screens as he accessed networks that most Kethrans did not even know existed. "For the past 6 months, I have been mapping every system in this palace and the surrounding city," he explained as he worked. "Defense grids, communication networks, power distribution, water systems, transportation tunnels. The Vorthons know how to fight Kethran armies, but they have never faced human asymmetric warfare." On the main display, a complex 3-dimensional map appeared showing the palace complex and the capital city. Hundreds of colored lines indicated power cables, communication channels, water pipes, and hidden passages. "This is impossible," an officer whispered. "Those systems are classified. Some of them are not even on official blueprints." "I am very good at finding things people want to hide," Tom said without looking up from his work. "The question is, are you willing to fight a war you have never fought before?" Before anyone could answer, massive explosions shook the palace. The Vorthon bombardment had begun. Through the reinforced windows, they could see energy beams lancing down from orbit, striking military installations throughout the city. "Defense Grid Alpha has been destroyed," an officer reported. "Anti-aircraft battery 7 is offline. They are systematically eliminating our defenses." Tom continued working at his computer, seemingly unbothered by the destruction happening around them. "Perfect. They are following standard Vorthon doctrine exactly as I predicted." "How is this perfect?" Rex demanded. "They are destroying everything." "They are destroying the defenses they can see," Tom corrected. "But they cannot destroy what they do not know exists." New icons appeared on the tactical display, showing hidden weapon caches, secret communication relays, and underground facilities that had never appeared on any Kethran military map. "Where did these come from?" Zara asked, staring at the display in amazement. "Your ancestors built this city to withstand siege," Tom explained. "But over the centuries, you forgot about the hidden systems because you never needed them. Your military became so powerful that you stopped thinking defensively." Another massive explosion rocked the palace. This time, the lights flickered and emergency power systems activated. "Main power is down," an officer announced. "Switching to backup generators." Tom smiled grimly. "Now keep backup power offline. We want them to think the palace is crippled. Are you insane?" Rex shouted. "Without power, we cannot coordinate defense or communicate with our forces." "We can," Tom said, activating a different system on his computer, "just not the way you are used to." Suddenly, every Kethran officer in the command center felt their personal communicators vibrate in a specific pattern. The vibrations spelled out a message in old Kethran military code that had not been used for centuries. "How did you access our personal devices?" an officer asked in amazement. "Human hackers are very creative," Tom replied. "Your people built these networks to be secure from outside attack, but they never considered inside infiltration." The orbital bombardment continued for another hour, systematically destroying every visible military installation in the capital city. When it finally stopped, Vorthon landing craft began descending toward the planet's surface. "They are landing in the main plaza," Rex reported, watching the enemy deployment through hidden cameras. 12 assault battalions, heavy weapons, full battle armor. How many troops total? Tom asked. Approximately 3,000 soldiers in the first wave, Rex calculated. More will follow once they secure the landing zone. Tom nodded as if this was exactly what he had expected. Good. That is a manageable number. Manageable? Rex stared at him in disbelief. We have fewer than 500 palace guards remaining. They outnumber us 6-1. Numbers only matter if both sides fight the same kind of war, Tom said. He turned to address the entire command center. I need volunteers for a mission that will probably get you killed. Anyone who is not willing to try something completely new should leave now. No one moved. Despite their doubts about the strange human, these were Kethran warriors who had never retreated from any battle. What do you need us to do? Zara asked. Tom brought up a new display showing the underground tunnel systems beneath the capital city. The Vorthons will expect you to make a heroic last stand in the throne room. Instead, we are going to disappear. Over the next 30 minutes, Tom explained his plan. It was unlike anything the Kethrans had ever considered. Instead of meeting the enemy in open combat, they would use the hidden tunnel systems to move throughout the city. Instead of defending fixed positions, they would strike at enemy supply lines and communication networks. This is not warfare, Rex protested. This is hiding like scared animals. This is survival, Tom replied. And if it works, it is victory. The first Vorthon assault teams reached the palace gates just as the last Kethran defenders disappeared into the tunnel systems. The enemy soldiers, expecting massive resistance, found only empty corridors and silent rooms. From hidden observation points, Tom watched the Vorthons deploy throughout the palace. They moved in standard formations, secured predetermined objectives, and established communication posts exactly as their training dictated. Phase 1 begins now, Tom whispered into his communicator. Throughout the city, small teams of Kethran warriors emerged from hidden positions, but instead of attacking enemy soldiers directly, they struck at power relays, communication dishes, and supply vehicles. Each attack lasted only minutes before the teams vanished back into the underground network. What are they doing? A Vorthon commander demanded over the radio channels that Tom had secretly accessed. Our patrols are reporting equipment failures, not enemy contact. Perhaps their weapons are malfunctioning, another voice suggested. Tom smiled as he listened to their confusion. The Vorthons had prepared for a conventional battle against a conventional enemy. They had no protocols for dealing with infrastructure attacks and guerrilla tactics. Phase 2, Tom announced. Now the Kethran teams began targeting enemy soldiers, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of direct combat, they used the environment itself as a weapon. Power failures trapped Vorthon soldiers in elevators. Water system sabotage flooded key positions. Communication jamming left enemy units isolated and confused. We cannot maintain contact with our forward positions, a Vorthon officer reported. Something is interfering with our communications. Use backup frequencies, the commander ordered. We have tried all backup frequencies, the officer replied. The interference appears to be coming from inside our own equipment. In the hidden command center, Tom monitored dozens of video feeds showing confused and increasingly frightened Vorthon soldiers. Their confidence was cracking as the environment they thought they controlled turned hostile. This is incredible, Zara whispered, watching enemy troops stumble through darkened corridors while hidden cameras track their every movement. They do not know where we are or what we are doing. Fear is the most powerful weapon in asymmetric warfare, Tom explained. When an enemy cannot predict where the next attack will come from, they begin to see threats everywhere. The psychological pressure continued to build throughout the night. Vorthon soldiers jumped at shadows, fired at imaginary enemies, and called for reinforcements to counter attacks that never came. Meanwhile, Kethran teams continued their systematic destruction of enemy infrastructure. By dawn, the Vorthon invasion force was exhausted, confused, and demoralized. They controlled the empty buildings above ground while the real battle was fought in hidden spaces they did not even know existed. Phase 3, Tom announced. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. Kethran warriors began appearing in locations where they should have been impossible to reach. Enemy soldiers who thought they were in secure positions found themselves under attack from directions that made no sense. How are they getting behind our lines? A Vorthon commander demanded. We have secured all access routes. Unknown, came the reply. Our sensors show no enemy movement, but attacks are continuing. Tom had spent months mapping secret passages that connected different parts of the city, routes that the Vorthons could not detect, because they were built inside the walls and beneath the foundations. The palace builders of centuries past had created a hidden city within the visible one. As the morning progressed, Vorthon casualties mounted, while Kethran losses remained minimal. The enemy had superior weapons and armor, but they were fighting blind against opponents who seemed to appear and disappear at will. "Sir," a Vorthon officer reported, his voice shaking, "we are requesting immediate evacuation. This position is untenable." "Negative," the commander replied. "Hold your positions. Reinforcements are en route." But Tom was ready for the reinforcements. As additional Vorthon ships entered the atmosphere, they found the landing zones seeded with hidden explosives. Ground-based weapon systems that the orbital bombardment had missed began emerging from concealed positions. "We have new contacts," a Vorthon pilot reported. "Ground-based missiles are targeting our landing craft." "Impossible," came the reply. "We destroyed all surface-to-air installations. The missiles are coming from inside the city itself," the pilot insisted. "They are launching from building rooftops and disappearing before we can target them." Mobile launcher systems, another innovation Tom had discovered in the ancient defense plans, were being operated by Kethran engineers who had learned to think like human guerrilla fighters. As the day wore on, the Vorthon situation became desperate. They were trapped in a hostile environment where every system seemed to be working against them. Their communications were compromised, their supply lines were under constant attack, and their soldiers were breaking under psychological pressure. "Admiral," a Vorthon commander finally transmitted to the fleet in orbit, "we are requesting full orbital bombardment of the capital city." "Confirmed," came the reply. "All units withdraw to safe distance." Tom had been waiting for this moment. As Vorthon forces began evacuating their positions, Kethran teams emerged from hiding to capture abandoned equipment and take prisoners. "Now comes the final test," Tom told Zara as they watched enemy forces retreating toward their landing craft. "What test?" she asked. "Whether they are willing to destroy the capital city to claim victory," Tom replied. "If they bombard the city, they get nothing but ruins. If they withdraw, they admit defeat to their own people." The answer came an hour later. Instead of ordering bombardment, the Vorthon fleet began withdrawing from the system. They had come to conquer an empire, not to rule over ashes. As reports of the Vorthon retreat spread throughout the palace, Kethran warriors began emerging from their hiding places. They looked at Tom with expressions of amazement and newfound respect. "You did it," Zara said quietly. "You defeated an enemy that destroyed our entire fleet using nothing but clever tactics and hidden passages." "We did it," Tom corrected. "Your people were willing to abandon everything they thought they knew about warfare. That takes a special kind of courage." Rex approached them, his expression humble. "I owe you an apology, human. I thought physical strength was the only power that mattered. Today you showed me that intelligence can be stronger than any weapon." Tom smiled tiredly. "Every kind of strength has its place, General. But the strongest warriors are those who know when to use each kind." As the celebration began throughout the capital city, Zara stood with her husband on the crystal balcony, where they had first talked about different kinds of power. The twin suns were setting again, but everything had changed. "My people will never see you as weak again," she said. "Good," Tom replied. "But more importantly, they will never see themselves the same way either." Today they learned that adaptation is just as important as strength. Zara looked out over her city, where Kethran and human techniques were already being combined to rebuild and improve the defenses. The marriage she had announced on impulse had become the foundation of a new kind of empire, one where different species contributed different strengths. "What happens now?" she asked. Tom took her massive hand in his much smaller one. "Now we build something that neither of our peoples could have created alone. The Vorthons will return eventually, but when they do, they will face an enemy unlike anything they have studied." As night fell over the Kethran homeworld, the palace glowed with new purpose. The Queen had found her strength in unexpected places, and the galaxy would never be the same.